Hello Budo cartoon viewers! In today's video, we'll be taking a deep dive into the animated series Phineas and Ferb from start to finish. This legendary show debuted on Disney Channel in 2007 and brought audiences unforgettable adventures across 4 seasons and a total of 223 episodes. In this video, we'll thoroughly examine each season and episode to give you a complete overview of the adventures of Phineas, Ferb, Candace, and, of course, Perry. Are you ready to witness this story from beginning to end? Let's get started. Let's begin with the main characters of Phineas and Ferb. Phineas Flynn is a smart and creative kid who spends his summer vacation tackling a new project or adventure each day. His stepbrother Ferb Fletcher is a quiet but talented inventor who supports Phineas in all his projects. Their sister Candace Flynn is constantly trying to tell their mom about her brother's crazy projects, though she's never quite successful. The family's pet Perry is actually a secret agent known as Agent P, who's always busy foiling the schemes of the evil scientist Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Together, they create the vibrant and entertaining world of the show, Roller Coaster, Season 1, Episode 1. We're here with the first day of Phineas and Ferb's adventure-filled summer vacation. Phineas realizes that when school resumes, they'll want to tell their friends all about what they did over the summer. To make this vacation unforgettable, he comes up with an incredible idea, building their own massive roller coaster. Together with Ferb, they get to work, gathering materials and rolling up their sleeves to create an exhilarating ride in their backyard. Meanwhile, Candace is on high alert, determined to catch her brothers in the act and report them to their mom. She tries to convince her mom, Linda, to come home from the market, but to no avail. Amidst Candace's frantic attempts, their pet Perry slips away, assuming his secret agent identity as Agent P and heading off on a mission. His task is to stop the evil scientist Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who plans to shift the country's eastern region to the west using a giant magnet. Phineas and Ferb complete their roller coaster project and unveil the coolest roller coaster for all the neighborhood kids. The ride takes them up to the clouds, down below ground, through wild twists, and even features a snake-filled section. While the kids enjoy this thrilling adventure, Agent P faces off against Dr. Doofenshmirtz in a fierce battle. In the end, Dr. Doofenshmirtz's plan backfires, and a giant aluminum foil ball causes chaos. Candace finally persuades her mom to come and see the roller coaster, but just as they arrive, it mysteriously vanishes. Candace's plan to expose her brothers falls apart, while Phineas and Ferb sit back under the tree, already brainstorming their next crazy project. Lawn Gnome Beach Party of Terror, Season 1, Episode 2. On one of the hottest days of summer, instead of just sitting in the shade, Phineas and Ferb decide to create a real beach in their backyard. They bring in truckloads of sand, turning the yard into a coastal paradise, complete with palm trees, water sprayers, and a massive sand pile. Isabella and the Fireside Girls join in as lifeguards, adding to the beach party vibe. Candace, intent on catching her brothers and reporting them to their mom, changes her mind when she learns that Jeremy will be coming to the beach. She soon finds herself at the heart of the party and, with her efforts, is even crowned the beach queen, thoroughly enjoying her moment in the spotlight. Meanwhile, Perry, as secret agent Agent P, is on a mission to thwart Dr. Doofenshmirtz's latest scheme. Driven by a childhood trauma, Dr. Doofenshmirtz plans to take control of all lawn gnomes. His family once lost their garden gnome when they fell on hard times, leaving him with bitter memories. Now he's bent on eliminating all gnomes from lawns. Perry sneaks into Dr. Doofenshmirtz's lab to stop him, but things go awry, and the scientist's giant vacuum accidentally sucks up all the sand, water, and palm trees from the backyard beach, restoring it to its original state. At that moment, Candace tries to get her mom to see the beach setup, but when Linda arrives, everything has mysteriously vanished. Disappointed, Candace once again misses her chance to expose her brothers. Meanwhile, Phineas and Ferb are back to relaxing, and Agent P, having foiled Dr. Doofenshmirtz's plan, returns to the backyard. DJ Stanky Dog announces that tomorrow will be another scorcher, as Phineas and Ferb start brainstorming their next adventure. As always, we end the day with a fun-filled experience. What more awaits us? Let's find out together. Swinter, Season 1, Episode 11. On a scorching summer day, Phineas and Ferb come up with a creative solution to cool down, bringing winter to their backyard. Inspired by their dad's snow cone machine, Phineas proposes the idea of creating a new season called Swinter. Ferb sets up the snow cone machine, and soon a giant mountain of snow begins to form in the backyard. The Fireside Girls join in to help with the winter activities, and soon all the neighborhood kids are enjoying the snowy fun. Initially, Candace doesn't care much about this winter beach, but when she spots Jeremy on the snow mountain, Mountain, her interest is immediately piqued. Eager to be near him, Candace starts devising plans to get close, although her fear of heights makes it challenging. To make matters worse, she sees Jeremy with a Swedish exchange student named DD, sparking a bout of jealousy. Determined, Candace tries every possible way to reach the top of the Snow Mountain, but navigating up a snowy peak proves to be trickier than she anticipated. Meanwhile, Perry, as Agent P, sneaks into Dr. Doofenshmirtz's lab. Doofenshmirtz is plotting to create a giant dessert kingdom using a device called the Meltonator 6-5000, designed to drain power from the entire tri-state area. Perry escapes from Doofenshmirtz's trap by eating through a chocolate shell and sabotages the device. As Doofenshmirtz's invention drains power from the area, the snow on the Swinter Mountain in the backyard begins to melt rapidly. Just as Candace is about to reach Jeremy, the melting snow thwarts her plans once again. The massive snow mountain Phineas and Ferb created quickly dissolves, disappearing in no time. When Candace brings her mom and dad to show them the winter beach, all that's left are a few snow cones. As a final gesture, Phineas offers Candace a snow cone. With that, the adventure of enjoying winter fun in the summer heat comes to an end, and Candace once again misses her chance to reveal her brother's wild project to their parents. As Phineas, Ferb, and all the neighborhood kids savor the moment, DJ Stanky Dog announces that tomorrow will be even hotter. After their day of Swinter fun, Phineas and Ferb are ready for new adventures. What kind of escapade will await them in the next episode? Dude, we're getting the band back together. Season 1, Episode 21. Today is a special day for the Flynn Fletcher family, as it's Lawrence and Linda's wedding anniversary. However, Lawrence forgets the significance of the day. When he finds an old Love Händel cassette in a box of memories, he recalls sharing his first kiss with Linda at the band's final concert the day their love truly began to bloom. Phineas and Ferb decide to recreate this magical moment for their anniversary by reuniting Love Händel. Since all the band members live in Danville, Phineas and Ferb travel around town to convince Danny, Bobby, and Swampy to join in. This time, Candace is on her brother's side, helping to distract their mom while they prepare the surprise. They first convince Danny, the lead singer. Next, they persuade Bobby, Linda's favorite hairstylist, to rejoin the band. Lastly, they encourage Swampy, the former drummer now working at the library, to find his rhythm again. Each band member rediscovers their passion for music and friendship and agrees to reunite. Meanwhile, Perry is on a mission to investigate Dr. Doofenshmirtz's latest scheme. Doofenshmirtz has prepared a massive firework display for his daughter Vanessa, but his plan takes a comical turn when he decides to tie Perry to one of the fireworks to launch him. Although Vanessa isn't thrilled about her dad's party plans, she realizes her friends find this unusual party amusing. Back at home, everything is set. Love Händel is back together for the anniversary. Performing their song, You Snuck Your Way Right Into My Heart for Linda and Lawrence, the evening becomes truly special. Lawrence walks over to Linda, recreating their first kiss, while the band's stellar performance and the crowd's cheers make this unforgettable night feel absolutely magical. Out to launch, Season 1, Episode 44. In today's adventure, Phineas and Ferb are aiming for the stars. With a meteor shower expected in Danville, everyone is caught up in Starmania. After Lawrence discovers he can buy stars online, he gifts one to each of his kids. This inspires Phineas and Ferb to go to space to see their stars up close. They start building a rocket in the backyard, with the Fireside Girls lending a hand. Meanwhile, Candace tries to muster the courage to ask Jeremy to a dance, but can't quite work up the nerve. When Phineas and Ferb are ready to launch the rocket, Candace notices their wild project and jumps into the rocket to stop them. However, the rocket launches just as she boards, and she suddenly finds herself hurtling into space. Phineas and Ferb quickly prepare a second rocket to follow her and rescue her. As Candace panics, Phineas tries to reassure her, but she accidentally presses various buttons, creating even more chaos. Meanwhile, Perry, in his secret agent identity, infiltrates Dr. Doofenshmirtz's giant robot hand-shaped space station. Dr. Doofenshmirtz reminisces about his youth, when he entertained people and impressed girls with shadow puppetry. However, he was forced to give up this hobby because of a rival with giant hands. Now he plans to recreate those memories by casting massive shadow puppets on the moon using his robotic hands. Perry fights to stop Doofenshmirtz's bizarre plan, just as Candace's rocket collides with asteroids, causing her to lose the engines and leaving her without a chance of escape without Phineas and Ferb's help. Phineas and Ferb reach Candace just in time, safely transferring her to their rocket. During the journey, Candace and Phineas have a meaningful conversation about bravery. Phineas reminds Candace of the importance of facing her fears and being courageous. This talk strengthens Candace's resolve to ask Jeremy to the dance. Finally, the kids arrive at the coordinates of the star their dad gifted them, discovering an interstellar spot called the Shooting Star Milkshake Bar. They learn that thanks to the star certificate, Phineas and Ferb are now the new owners of this old establishment. The kids start fixing it up, breathing new life into the place, and Candace begins to bond with her brothers and enjoy the adventure. And when it's time to head back to Earth, they realize they're out of fuel. Luckily, Candace gathers her courage and helps them find a new energy source by tapping into their mom's car parked back in the backyard. In the process, Candace accidentally crashes into Doofenshmirtz's space station, destroying it and unexpectedly becoming the hero of the day in Phineas and Ferb's eyes. Back on Earth with her newfound confidence, Candace asks Jeremy to the dance, and he happily accepts, marking a triumphant end to the day. This amazing, star-filled adventure becomes an unforgettable memory as Candace conquers her fears and embraces the thrill of being brave. Unfair Science Fair, Season 1, Episode 46. In this episode, Baljeet asks Phineas and Ferb for help with his science fair project, A Portal to Mars. Baljeet's teacher, Mr. McGillicuddy, deems the project impossible and is only willing to give him an A, which is unacceptable for Baljeet. Determined to help him win the science fair, Phineas and Ferb get to work. As they build the portal, Baljeet's lack of mechanical skills leads to humorous moments, but Phineas and Ferb successfully complete the portal. Meanwhile, Perry is tracking down supplies Dr. Doofenshmirtz has acquired. Doofenshmirtz, who was once defeated at a science fair by a baking soda volcano, is plotting revenge by creating an enormous volcano of his own. Perry tries to stop Doofenshmirtz as his plan spirals out of control. At the science fair, Baljeet proudly presents his project and Mr. McGillicuddy is eager to see it. However, Doofenshmirtz unplugs Baljeet's portal to power his own light show, causing Baljeet's project to fail and putting his teacher in an awkward position. When they attempt to restart the portal, Doofenshmirtz's volcano explodes and launches toward Mars in a spectacular eruption. As Baljeet and his friends leave the fair, the top science fair project is, once again, a baking soda volcano. Meanwhile, Candace applies for a job at Slushy Burger to impress Jeremy, only to find herself in a fierce competition with Wendy. Chaos ensues as ketchup, mustard, and other condiments fly around, and Candace ultimately doesn't get the job. The episode wraps up with Phineas, Ferb, and their friends enjoying corn dogs, as Isabella wonders why they didn't use the portal to actually go to Mars. Phineas and Ferb simply tell her that's another story. Perry completes his mission and joins the group, ending the episode on a humorous note filled with chaotic fun and clever inventions at the science fair. Unfair Science Fair Redux, Season 1, Episode 47. Feeling lonely, Candace stumbles upon the Mars portal that Phineas and Ferb built for Baljeet. Spurred by a desire to escape, she travels to Mars. However, when the portal malfunctions, Candace finds herself stranded. Desperately searching for help on Mars, she spots a Mars rover and tries to get its attention. Frustrated when it shuts down, she damages it, catching the attention of some Martians who promptly declare her the Queen of Mars. Delighted with her new title, Candace names her Martian friends Good Stacy and Good Jenny. Meanwhile, Perry heads out on a mission to stop Dr. Doofenshmirtz, only to find that Doofenshmirtz actually just needed to run errands. The two embark on a bizarre shopping cart journey, leading to a comical collision with Major Monogram and Carl. Phineas and Ferb, realizing Candace is stuck on Mars, fix the portal and head there to rescue her. Although Candace enjoys her time with the Martians, she grows tired of constantly being followed and asks for a break. The Martians, misunderstanding her intentions, assume Phineas and Ferb are there to kidnap her, and they morph into a giant Martian form to chase them down. Candace hops into Phineas and Ferb's vehicle as they escape, and Phineas uses her phone to call Baljeet, who reactivates the portal. The three narrowly escape the Martians and return to Earth. Upon her return, Candace eagerly tries to prove her Mars Queen adventure to her mom by showing her the drawings the Martians made for her. However, Dr. Doofenshmirtz's initial Innator device fires a laser into space, erasing Candace's face from the Martian landscape. When Linda checks with a telescope, she only sees a figure resembling a rhesus monkey, leaving Candace disappointed. In the end, Candace's friends explain why they couldn't reach her, assuring her they weren't neglecting her. Reflecting on the experience, Candace learns a lesson from her adventure. future, while her dream of being the Queen of Mars remains a funny and memorable moment. The Lake Nose Monster, Season 2, Episode 1. The Flynn Fletcher family heads to Lake Nose for a vacation, and Candace is excited about working as a lake patrol guard alongside Jeremy. Phineas mentions a lake monster named Nosy, but Candace dismisses the story, warning her brothers not to embarrass her. However, Phineas and Ferb are intrigued by the idea of finding the lake monster, so they build a boat named Nosebud for their expedition. Meanwhile, Perry receives a mission to deliver hot wings to Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who's hiding in a secret base at the bottom of the lake. Doofenshmirtz has a plan to filter the lake's zinc, though he's not sure what he'll do with it. Out on the lake, Phineas and Ferb secretly search for the monster from a submarine hidden beneath the boat, while Lawrence entertains with fish tales. Candace, hoping to scare others with the idea of seeing a monster, unwittingly stirs up excitement along the shore. However, there's no real danger, only Buford playing a prank on Baljeet. Phineas and Ferb's underwater search leads them to the actual Nosy, a massive creature disturbed by their cameras. When Nosy reacts aggressively, Phineas realizes that the monster simply wants to live in peace and destroys the cameras, calming the creature. Their friendly approach earns Nosy's trust, and they become friends. Meanwhile, Perry foils Doofenshmirtz's plan to filter the lake's zinc. Nosy, weakened from lack of zinc, begins to falter, but Ferb uses his mom's zinc-rich sunscreen to revive the creature. They enjoy a friendly moment with Nosy in the middle of the lake. Candace, still eager to prove the monster's existence, tries to show everyone, but Phineas hides the evidence to protect their new friend. In the end, Candace accepts Nosy's existence and respects her brother's decision to keep him a secret. The episode wraps up with Candace agreeing to maintain the mystery, and Nosy thanks her with a grateful kiss. Day of the Living Gelatin, Season 2, Episode 6. Candace starts a healthy dessert club to throw a gelatin party, hoping to impress Jeremy with his favorite treat, but she keeps her true intentions under wraps. When Phineas and Ferb decide to disrupt Candace's plans by experimenting with molecular transporters to create gelatin, she kicks them out and sends them to the backyard to make their own giant gelatin. Phineas and Ferb use Isabella's pool as a mold, creating a massive gelatin treat. While the kids enjoy bouncing on the gelatin in the pool, Candace eagerly watches, planning to report it to their mom. Meanwhile, Perry visits Dr. Doofenshmirtz for tea, only to find himself in another trap. Doofenshmirtz unveils his turn-everything-evil innator, intending to make Perry an evil ally. However, the machine misfires and targets the giant gelatin, bringing it to life as a monstrous creature. The living gelatin throws the kids out of the pool, creating chaos. Phineas and Ferb attempt to combat the gelatin monster with water guns and balloons, but this only makes it angrier and causes it to split into smaller pieces that chase the kids around. Candace, trapped inside the gelatin, sees this as her chance to finally expose her brother's project to their mom. Doofenshmirtz tries to summon the gelatin monster to his building, and the creature begins heading in his direction. Perry, using the building's sprinklers, melts the gelatin monster and deactivates the evil machine. By the end of the episode, Candace is fed up with gelatin and even rejects the special gelatin dessert Jeremy made for her. This adventure concludes with Candace failing once more to catch Phineas and Ferb, now harboring a strong aversion to gelatin. Shea Platypus, Season 2, Episode 9. Inspired by fancy but tasteless restaurants, Phineas and Ferb decide to open their own restaurant called Shea Platypus, named after Perry. Their goal is to create an exciting dining experience, with help from Isabella, Baljeet, Buford, and the Fireside Girls. Meanwhile, Candace learns that Jeremy is planning to take her on a special date, filling her with excitement. As she prepares for the date, she becomes concerned when she sees her brother's latest restaurant venture. While this unfolds, Perry heads out on a mission and learns about Dr. Doofenshmirtz's latest scheme. Dr. Doofenshmirtz, envious of happy couples, has developed a satellite called the De-Love-inator to eliminate love across the tri-state area. However, he mentions that he won't use it if his own date goes well. When things don't go as planned, Perry springs into action to stop him. As Shea Platypus opens, Candace and Jeremy join the long line outside, hoping to get a table. When they're unable to get in, Candace tries to report her brothers to her mom. However, she soon starts to enjoy her time with Jeremy and decides to hold off on her usual complaint. As the restaurant gains success, Phineas and Ferb decide to sell Shea Platypus to an interested buyer, ending their dinner service for the night. Doofenshmirtz's date initially goes well, but the Delovenator accidentally activates, causing his date to lose interest abruptly. This funny and romantic episode concludes with Candace enjoying her time with Jeremy, learning to set aside her usual habit of reporting her brothers, while Perry once again saves the day. The Chronicles of Meep, Season 2, Episode 12. While playing a customized baseball game, Phineas and Ferb accidentally cause a spaceship to crash in their backyard. Out of the ship emerges Meep, a cute, small alien. As Phineas and Ferb work to repair Meep's spaceship, Candace spots it and assumes her brothers built it. When she sees Meep, she mistakes him for a robotic Bango-Roo toy and promptly stuffs him into her bag. Meanwhile, Perry heads to Dr. Doofenshmirtz's building to investigate his latest scheme. Doofenshmirtz is using static electricity to attract all the balloons in the tri-state area, hoping to find his old friend, a balloon named Balloony. Back at the backyard, Ferb successfully repairs Meep's ship, but at that moment, an evil alien named Mitch notices it and lands on Earth, attempting to capture Meep. Thinking Meep is just a toy, Candace takes him along with her, but Phineas and Ferb create a cuteness tracker to locate him. Isabella realizes her own cuteness interferes with the tracker's signal. Soon, Mitch kidnaps Phineas, Ferb, and Isabella, taking them to his space station, while Candace and Meep manage to reach the station using remote-controlled baseballs attached to their bikes. Doofenshmirtz's static electricity and balloons inadvertently pull him and Perry toward Mitch's space station. Mitch captures Meep and sends his robots after Phineas, Ferb, and Isabella. Candace uses the remote-controlled baseballs to disable the robots, and Meep defeats Mitch with a rainbow beam. After stealing Mitch's mustache, Meep reveals that the mustache is a translator, allowing him to explain that he's actually a galactic security officer. Phineas, Ferb, Isabella, Candace, and Meep subdue Mitch and return to Earth. Candace, after her experience with aliens, learns a valuable lesson about not judging by appearances. Phineas and Ferb's Quantum Boogaloo, Season 2, Episode 25. While building a superstructure in the backyard with Baljeet, Phineas and Ferb realize they need a tool that combines metal and wood, something only available in the technology of 20 years into the future. Baljeet shows them his unfinished time travel formula, but Phineas suggests using the time machine they once saw in a museum. As they head to the museum, Candace secretly follows them. Phineas entrusts Isabella to guard the time machine, but she accidentally sends it back to the past in a moment of distraction. Arriving in the future, Phineas and Ferb meet future Candace, who is now a mature adult spending time with her children Amanda, Xavier, and Fred. However, Candace's kids lack imagination and find summer break dull. Inspired by Phineas and Ferb, they create bumper cars that travel through the fifth dimension, bringing excitement to their lives. Meanwhile, future Candace calls her mom, Linda, and explains that all of Phineas and Ferb's crazy inventions were actually real. Linda, feeling remorseful for not taking young Candace's report seriously, reflects on the past. Through this time-bending journey, Phineas and Ferb help young Candace gain awareness of her future self's perspective on creativity and family. In the end, Candace learns the importance of fostering true creative energy and the value of passing this on to her future children. This insightful episode wraps up with Candace realizing the significance of imagination and its role in family connections. Phineas and Ferb Hawaiian Vacation, Season 2, Episode 53. The Flynn Fletcher family arrives in Hawaii for a relaxing vacation, with Linda and Lawrence excited for the annual couple's surfing contest, and Candace determined to take a break from her usual mission of busting Phineas and Ferb. But Phineas and Ferb, as always, are already up to something interesting. After buying aqua primates, tiny aquatic creatures, from the gift shop, they decide to make them human-sized with their growth elixir, turning the pool into a wild scene as the A-Primes start wreaking havoc across the hotel. Phineas and Ferb follow them around, improvising a creature-wrangling escapade. Meanwhile, Perry the Platypus receives a mission briefing from Major Monogram revealing that Dr. Doofenshmirtz is also in Hawaii on Pink Unicorn Island, since Skull Island was booked. Doofenshmirtz has developed a de-evolution inator that he plans to use on the tri-state area. When Perry confronts him, a chaotic battle ensues, with both accidentally evolving and devolving into different forms. Back at the hotel, Candace is enjoying a rare moment of relaxation with some Pineapple Serenity lotion and a yoga class, only to slip into the pool and cause the A-Primes to flee in all directions, sending her on an unexpected chase with Phineas and Ferb. The hotel manager steps in, adding to the chaos as he tries to bust the A-Primes himself. Meanwhile, Perry manages to return to his normal form and ultimately foils Doofenshmirtz's plan, devolving him into a single-celled organism temporarily. Afterward, Phineas and Ferb use a giant flashlight to attract the A-Primes back to the pool just in time for their parents to arrive, who are oblivious to the day's madness. The A-Primes mysteriously transform back to human form, leaving the hotel manager bewildered. Phineas and Ferb, Summer Belongs to You. Season 2, Episode 54. Candace, unable to resist, calls Jeremy, who's in Paris, even though it's early in his time zone. He tells her she appeared in a dream with an unusual band, but their call is interrupted by Phineas and Ferb's latest creation, a jump-roping robot. Candace tries to report this to Linda, but by the time she arrives, the robot is gone. Inspired to make the summer even more exciting, Phineas decides to create the longest, most fun day of summer ever by traveling around the world, extending daylight. Meanwhile, Dr. Doofenshmirtz and Vanessa head to Tokyo, though Vanessa had preferred Paris. She soon realizes her father is bringing work along on what was supposed to be family time, causing tension. Perry, suspecting something's wrong, decides to investigate Doofenshmirtz, despite being told it's unnecessary. Back home, Candace, anxious about Jeremy, is relieved to hear she could declare him her boyfriend, even if he hasn't yet. She decides to join Phineas and Ferb's trip upon learning that Paris is a stop determined to supervise them. Buford, doubting the success of the world circumnavigating mission, bets against Phineas, raising the stakes. The group, including Candace, launches in their Sunbeater 3000, leaving Addison and the Fireside Girls to prepare for their return party. While exploring the Tokyo Tower with her father, Vanessa discovers that Doofenshmirtz has placed a giant water balloon at the top of the structure, planning to drop it on the Good Guy convention below and frame Major Monogram. Meanwhile, Phineas lands the Sunbeater 3000 in Tokyo, coincidentally near Stacy's relative's home. Stacy's great aunt, who owns a tempura restaurant, helps them refuel with vegetable oil, and they launch again after a J-pop song. Vanessa, frustrated with her father's antics, walks away and crosses paths with Perry, who arrives to rescue Monogram. Doofenshmirtz accidentally causes the balloon to spin out of control, knocking Vanessa off the tower, but the Sunbeater 3000 catches her mid-fall. Angry that his daughter was rescued by Phineas and Ferb, Doofenshmirtz convinces Monogram and Perry to pursue them. As they fly over the Himalayas, Phineas points out the rumored Klimpaloon, a mythical bathing suit, sparking a playful argument with Candace. The argument is cut short as Vanessa's additional weight affects the plane's altitude and they collide with a mountain. As they crash on a mountainside, Klimpaloon briefly appears, proving Phineas's claim. After the crash, Baljeet remembers his uncle Sabu, who lives nearby and owns a rubber band factory. They visit him, and after a Bollywood-style musical number, Uncle Sabu supplies them with giant rubber bands to repair the Sunbeater 3000. Meanwhile, Candace and Vanessa try to get cell phone reception higher up the mountain, unaware that Doofenshmirtz is tracking Vanessa via a GPS beacon in her earrings. Doofenshmirtz, parachute-free, crash lands near them and inadvertently becomes encased in a snowball, rolling toward Candace and Vanessa, who run back to the aircraft. Ferb tries to start the engine as the giant snowball crashes into the rubber band reinforced aircraft, sending it off the cliff. The group bounces westward across the globe, using the rubber bands to propel them, eventually reaching Paris, where they run out of bands and crash land in a river. Doofenshmirtz, launched skyward by the impact, lands next to Perry's hovercar, unharmed and unnoticed by the group. In Paris, the Sunbeater 3000 is stranded by the riverside, so Phineas organizes everyone to find fuel and parts. Candace heads off to find Jeremy, while Buford and Baljeet look for fuel, and Ferb and Vanessa go to the Eiffel Tower to plot a route home. Phineas and Isabella search for parts, giving Isabella a chance to try connecting with Phineas, though he remains focused on the task. Candace eventually finds Jeremy but feels discouraged seeing him with local teen. Meanwhile, Ferb, who had developed feelings for Vanessa, finds her gone with her father when he returns with a rose. The group reunites at the Sunbeater, and with some encouragement from Phineas, Candace feels reassured about her relationship with Jeremy. As they launch down the river and make it to the Atlantic, the Sunbeater 3000 collapses from the strain of the journey, leaving the group stranded once again. Stranded on a desert island, Candace grows frustrated while Buford mocks Phineas, thinking he's won their bet. Phineas tries to stay optimistic, but soon realizes they're truly stuck, with no materials to escape. Meanwhile, in Paris, Vanessa helps Doofenshmirtz escape Monogram and Perry by pretending to have a weapon, making her father proud of her evil act. On the island, Isabella, feeling ignored by Phineas, confides her frustrations to Ferb. Phineas, realizing Isabella's disappointment, sits beside her and contemplates the sunset. Inspired by her pep talk, Phineas decides to create a giant paper airplane using their map, launching it with a rubber band slingshot. Though Candace doubts the plan, she ultimately joins in, motivated by the chance to see Jeremy. They soar over the Atlantic and crash land in Danville with seconds to spare before sunset. Blocked by road construction, Buford allows Phineas and Ferb to use his bikes, including a tricycle for Candace, to make the final jump back home. Just as the sun sets, they arrive, completing their journey. Linda and Lawrence, oblivious to the adventure, commend Candace for being responsible, and the kids celebrate their success with a party. Jeremy surprises Candace by returning early, sealing their day with a kiss, while Phineas wonders where Perry is, unaware that Perry is enjoying a quiet moment in Paris. Candace Gets Busted, Season 2, Episode 65. Before leaving for an antique fair, Linda and Lawrence put Candace in charge of the house, reminding her to be responsible. Candace asks if she can invite her friends, and they agree, but with a strict warning not to throw a party. Taking advantage of the situation, Candace invites Stacy and Jenny, thinking it'll just be a small gathering. However, things quickly spiral out of control as Jeremy and other teens show up, turning the little hangout into a full-blown party. Despite Candace's efforts to contain the chaos, the situation escalates. Meanwhile, Perry is on a mission to stop Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who has invented a go-away inator to relocate a tall building blocking his view. When Linda calls to check in, Candace tries to assure her everything is fine, but the loud party noise makes her mom suspicious. Linda decides to cancel her flight and head home early. Doofenshmirtz activates his device, but Perry's interference causes it to misfire, transporting the party to a different location. Candace briefly celebrates, thinking her problems are solved, until the party unexpectedly returns. When Linda and Lawrence arrive home, they are furious at the chaotic scene. Candace tries to explain, but her pleas fall flat, and she is grounded for a week. Phineas, however, cheers her up, telling her she threw the best party of the summer. The Great Indoors, Season 3, Episode 1. Phineas and Ferb are stuck indoors due to the rain, but they quickly turn their living room into an adventure hub for their friends. They create a biosphere in the backyard, allowing the Fireside Girls to complete various patches, starting with desert trekking. Meanwhile, Candace is fixated on finding out what Jeremy likes about her and tries to avoid busting her brothers, even though she's tempted. Perry is sent to investigate Doofenshmirtz, who, as suspected, is behind the heavy rain with his rain-inator. It turns out Doff is annoyed that his favorite Spanish soap opera, El Matador de Amor, was interrupted by a soccer game, so he made it rain to halt the game. Back in the biosphere, Phineas and Ferb create a series of environments, from deserts to mountains, allowing the Fireside Girls to earn multiple patches. Jeremy and Candace share an adventurous picnic, navigating rivers and even a mountain. Just when Jeremy is about to answer Candace's question, their setting changes, causing more interruptions. Perry manages to disable Doofenshmirtz's machine, stopping the rain just as Candace rushes to Linda to bust her brothers. The rain-inator crashes into the biosphere, making it vanish before Linda can see. In the end, Candace is back to square one, still unsure of what Jeremy likes about her, just as his answer is interrupted by a soccer game. Phineas's birthday clip-o-rama, Season 3, Episode 5. Phineas wakes up to an unexpected surprise. Ferb has set up a scavenger hunt for his birthday, leaving Phineas with clues to find around town. While Phineas embarks on his clue-following adventure, Ferb heads to Irving's house, where he, Isabella, Baljeet, Buford, and Irving begin planning a special birthday surprise. A video montage of Phineas's best summer moments. Candace, as usual, is suspicious of their activity and sees this as a golden opportunity to finally catch her brothers in the act. Determined, she follows everyone to try and get her hands on the footage, sure it will provide all the evidence she needs to bust them once and for all. Meanwhile, Perry the Platypus heads off for his mission, only to land directly in Doofenshmirtz's lair. This time, Doofenshmirtz has crafted the Video Beam Hijack Non-Inator, designed to interrupt his brother's TV biography, a program he finds unfairly flattering. Perry and Doofenshmirtz engage in a chase, each wielding TV remotes as weapons, blasting rays at each other in an all-out remote war. Back in town, Phineas follows clues that take him from a construction site to the Googleplex Mall, gathering funny items along the way. He runs into friends like Jeremy, who unknowingly give him more hints. While Phineas enjoys his hunt, Candace tries to snatch up the footage Irving, Isabella, Buford, and Baljeet are putting together. She finally manages to snag the DVD from Buford's house, but her trip home is anything but smooth. She dodges obstacles, narrowly escapes a DVD truck crash, and has to wrestle with birds trying to take the disc from her. Miraculously, Candace keeps hold of the disc, and with the help of a flange tuner she finds, she makes her way back to the house, convinced she's got all the evidence she needs to bust her brothers. Phineas completes his scavenger hunt and everyone gathers in the backyard, welcoming him with a huge birthday celebration. Just as Candace is about to show Linda the evidence, Phineas steps up to make a speech, reflecting on how grateful he is for his friends and family. Moved by his words, Candace softens, realizing she can't spoil his special day. Finally letting go of her plan to bust him, she smashes the DVD with the flange tuner. Phineas notices her holding the flange tuner and, delighted, exclaims that it's exactly what he wanted for his birthday. They share a sweet moment and Linda serves up cake to everyone at the party, celebrating a perfect end to Phineas's special day. Doof Dynasty, Season 3, Episode 29. In ancient China, Finnabunk, Phineas, and Gerb, Ferb get involved in an epic adventure to rescue Princess Isabella from the evil Doofus Khan. The episode opens with the kids trying to watch a parade. Phineas, Ferb, Buford, and Baljeet create a large wooden structure to get a better view and spot Regent Monogram and Princess Isabella in a palanquin. Meanwhile, Candace spots the structure and rushes to tell Linda, but gets ignored due to Lawrence's anticipation of the parade's acrobats. However, these acrobats turn out to be Doofus Khan's men, who kidnap Princess Isabella as part of his plan to seize power over the Tri-Province area. As Regent Monogram laments the absence of Master Perry, who retired to the unclimbable mountain of unclimbableness, Phineas and Ferb decide to seek Perry's help. At Doofus Khan's castle, Isabella is locked in a dark room as Doofus Khan revels in his supposed victory. The kids embark on their journey, overcoming obstacles like the uncrossable river with the help of their inventive tools. Despite Candace's relentless attempts to keep up, she struggles and falls behind. Eventually, Phineas and friends reach Master Perry, who is initially hesitant to leave retirement. After an intense training session led by Perry, the kids are prepared for battle. The boys arrive at Doofus Khan's castle, dodging booby traps and easily overpowering Doofus's guards. Phineas reaches Isabella, who joyfully rushes to his side. They make a daring escape, but Doofus Khan summons a massive robotic dragon to attack Regent Monogram's castle. In response, the kids use a giant terracotta warrior to counter the dragon, engaging in an epic showdown. Candace tries once again to show Linda the spectacle, but as usual, Linda only sees a pile of rubble by the time she arrives. In the final battle, Master Perry comes to the rescue, disabling the dragon from within, allowing Ferb to retrieve a crucial key. The dragon collapses, and Doofus Khan is defeated, restrained by a Chinese finger trap as a humorous punishment. Regent Monogram thanks the kids, and Princess Isabella suggests using the broken terracotta pieces to build a wall to prevent future attacks. The episode concludes with an elderly Phineas and Ferb many years later, having completed the Great Wall of China. Excalifurb, Season 3, Episode 30. In a fantasy twist, Carl reads a story to a sick Major Monogram about a medieval quest involving Phineas and Ferb. The tale begins in the backyard of an antique dealer's cottage, where wizards Phineas and Ferbalot experiment with potions. The Lady of the Puddle emerges, urging them to seek the legendary sword Excalifurb to defeat the villainous Malefish Mertz, who is causing unnatural rain. Guided by the water sprite Isabelle, Phineas and Ferbalot embark on the quest. Meanwhile, their pet Parable the Dragon Puss receives a mission from Monopunzel, a character who briefly resembles Monogram. Candace, as Candavere, accidentally spills potion on herself and gains fantastical creature traits like a dragon tail and unicorn horn. She chases after Phineas and Ferbalot, hoping they can reverse the effects. Parable heads to Malefish Mertz's castle, but ends up trapped, learning of Malefish Mertz's plot to grow a canned meat army using rain magic. Along their journey, Phineas and Ferbalot recruit Baphobolus and Baljeetolas, who join the team at the Inn of the Prancing Platypus. When Malefish Mertz sends his meat minions to stop them, the team bravely evades them and arrives at the Bridge of Comprehension, cleverly crossing without answering the trolls' riddles. As Carl takes a snack break, much to Monogram's annoyance, the story resumes with Isabelle helping the group slide down the gorge using water magic. They continue to the swamp, where only positive attitudes can cross. Despite Baphobolus's reluctance, the promise of pie lures him across. Eventually, the group reaches the Cave of 10,000 Monsters, where Excalifurb awaits. Ferbalot retrieves the sword just as Malefish Mertz triggers an avalanche, and Parable breaks free from his cage to join the battle. In an epic showdown, Phineas transforms Parable into a giant dragon to fight Malefish Mertz, who has transformed into a three-headed dragon. Even Candavere, now a Uniwhale Scorpiopega Squid Icorn, fights to help the heroes. In the climactic battle, peace is ultimately achieved through a treaty between the monsters and meat minions, with the questers celebrated as heroes. Maleficmertz, however, sneaks away, hinting at further adventures. Monogram, entertained by Carl's storytelling, asks for another reading, but Carl reminds him they have real work to do tomorrow. Where's Perry? Season 3, Episode 55. The episode begins with Phineas, Ferb, and friends preparing for a trip to Africa. At the airport, Perry is called away by Major Monogram on a mission to check up on Doofenshmirtz, who's supposedly up to something suspicious. To avoid going on the trip, Perry fakes being sick, and the family reluctantly leaves him at home under Betty Jo and Clyde's care. Candace anxiously waits for Jeremy to tell her something important before her flight, but he doesn't arrive in time. On the plane, everyone settles in for the long journey, with Candace frustrated that she can't use her phone mid-flight. Meanwhile, Perry checks in on Doofenshmirtz, only to discover that his plan seems ridiculous. Doof plans to make people gain weight using a fitness equipment lockinator to take over City Hall. Perry foils this easily, but Doof reveals his real goal, to use the ultimate evil inator to turn Major Monogram into his loyal sidekick, aiming it at Akka headquarters. Upon landing in Africa, the Flynn Fletcher family meets Lawrence's college friend Ignatius, who takes them on a safari. Phineas and Ferb, inspired by the landscape, decide to build an unconventional vehicle to explore the uncharted gorge. Back at the OWCA, Carl has accidentally been hit by the ultimate evil inator's beam instead of Monogram. Now evil, Carl imprisons both Monogram and Doofenshmirtz and begins taking over OWCA. He lets Doof out to help him build inators, unaware that Doof still isn't thrilled with Carl's plan. Meanwhile, Monogram tries to signal Perry with straws taped together as a makeshift phone. As the gang assembles their highly unconventional vehicle in Africa, Candace desperately tries to reach Jeremy using a treetop phone, finally hearing fragments suggesting a possible breakup. Meanwhile, Phineas, Ferb, and friends prep the vehicle for an adventurous descent down the gorge, though it's clear any mistake could lead to disaster. At OCA, Perry confronts Carl, who's using evil Flynn Fletcher robots to secure his hold on the tri-state area. Perry locks the supercomputer to block Carl, while Doof unwittingly triggers every inator at once, hitting Perry in the crossfire and causing him to disappear completely. The episode ends on a cliffhanger. Perry's fate is unknown, and the Flynn Fletchers face an unexpected situation at a restaurant in Africa without their reservation. Where's Perry? Part 2, Season 3, Episode 56. The episode resumes at the restaurant Chez Afrique, where Linda and Lawrence have waited years for a reservation. Initially, they believe their reservation was never confirmed, but the maitre d' corrects the reservation mix-up and ushers them in, much to their relief. Meanwhile, at OWCA headquarters, Carl, who has gone rogue, criticizes Doofenshmirtz for carelessly blasting Perry with multiple inators, making it impossible to use Perry's paw print to access OWCA files. After analyzing the situation, Carl deduces that Perry was zapped by the go-home inator and transported somewhere else, and he flies with the evil robots to the Flynn Fletcher house to find him. Doofenshmirtz, initially clueless about Carl's motives, soon realizes he's been left behind. Monogram, still imprisoned, convinces Doofenshmirtz to work with him to stop Carl from taking over the tri-state area. Realizing the severity of the situation, Doofenshmirtz reluctantly agrees, and they take a spare jet to Africa to find Carl and Agent P. In Africa, Candace, devastated by her miscommunication with Jeremy, isolates herself in the jungle and adopts a wild lifestyle, joining a group of monkeys and becoming Candor. Embracing this new persona, she finds peace and comfort in the jungle, though her thoughts occasionally drift back to Jeremy. Elsewhere, high up on a cliff, Phineas, Ferb, Isabella, Buford, and Baljeet are stuck dangling from vines after their vehicle breaks down. Spotting Perry in the wilderness below, Phineas insists on following him. Despite some hesitation from Isabella and Buford, they make their way down. Perry, however, is actively avoiding Carl's robotic minions. Back in Danville, Carl and the robots search the Flynn Fletcher house and conclude that Perry is not there. Frustrated, Carl begins to realize that Perry is likely in Africa. With everyone in Africa, Perry teams up with the local wildlife, recruiting animals by giving them small fedoras as symbols of their newfound alliance. Candace, having fully embraced her jungle lifestyle, also joins the battle, assisting Perry and the animals against Carl's army of robots. During the fight, Candace encounters a robot version of herself, who shows her a recorded message from Jeremy. Candace learns that her breakup fears were unfounded, as Jeremy was actually trying to tell her how much he missed her. Finally understanding, Candace calls Jeremy and is relieved to patch things up. As the showdown continues, Major Monogram and Doofenshmirtz arrive just in time to lend support, bringing along the partially completed Re-Good Inator, which they plan to use on Carl. During the struggle, Monogram and Doofenshmirtz work together to repair the Re-Good Inator using scraps from fallen robots. Finally, Perry lures Carl onto an X-shaped rock, providing a clear shot for the Re-Good Inator, which successfully restores Carl to his good self. Grateful for the rescue, Carl reverts to his old personality and resumes his duties, apologizing to Monogram for the chaos he caused. Carl is thrilled to be promoted to paid intern status, even though it's just a title with no actual pay. As the dust settles, Phineas and the others reflect on the adventure, realizing that Perry had indeed crossed the ocean to be with his family in Africa. Monogram, amused, chalks it up to Perry's dedication, noting that home is where the heart is. The kids and their pet platypus head back to their campsite, with Candace resuming her normal self after her jungle experience. Ignatius, their guide, shares a special African s'more with grubs as a treat, which Isabella happily eats, finally earning her grub-eating Fireside Girl patch. Phineas marvels at the bond he shares with Perry, grateful to have him as both a pet and a friend. As the episode concludes, the Flynn Fletcher family and friends settle around the campfire, sharing stories and enjoying their time under the vast African sky. They take in the mystery of Perry's travels, Candace is satisfied after reconnecting with Jeremy, and the whole group cherishes the memories of their extraordinary day together in Africa. This is Your Backstory, Season 3, Episode 61. Candace is on the phone with Stacy, discussing how sponges affect seawater depth when she hears a noise. She hangs up to investigate and finds Phineas and Ferb playing table tennis. Deciding to keep watch for anything unusual to bust them, she wonders where Perry is. Meanwhile, Perry flies toward Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated, where Major Monogram has alerted him that Doofenshmirtz has bought an unusual number of chairs. On arrival, Perry finds himself trapped in a theater-style setup with Doofenshmirtz seated in front of a projector. Norm, Doofenshmirtz's robot assistant, shines a spotlight and kicks off a backstory reveal using a memory extraction device to relive Doofenshmirtz's painful memories. The show begins with Doofenshmirtz's difficult childhood in Drusselstein. His mother, father, and even the doctor show little affection. The painful memories continue, with flashbacks of Doofenshmirtz serving as a lawn gnome, his father's disapproval, and constant disappointments from his younger brother Roger, who always stole the spotlight. As Doofenshmirtz recounts these memories, Norm tracks his emotional pain on a Nomometer, which inches closer to activating the Backstory Inator, a device designed to turn Doofenshmirtz into an all-powerful evil being once it's fully charged with emotional pain. In another flashback, Doofenshmirtz remembers his social struggles and friendship with his balloon, Balloony, who sadly pops in front of him. More memories flood in, like Doofenshmirtz's failed inventions and attempts to impress others, adding up to his frustrations and steadily raising the Nomometer. Back at the Flynn Fletcher house, Candace continues her watch over Phineas and Ferb, who are still only playing ping pong, leaving her frustrated and bored as she waits for something extraordinary. Meanwhile, in Doofenshmirtz's lair, the Nomometer nearly reaches the top as Doofenshmirtz recalls more failed moments, including a viral video of him skating in his underwear that haunts him. Vanessa, Doofenshmirtz's daughter, interrupts to borrow his car keys, and when Doofenshmirtz thinks of his good memories with her, the Nomometer's level drops, frustrating him as it undoes his progress. Norm continues with painful memories, bringing Doofenshmirtz's ex-wife, Charlene, who drops off an alimony check. Despite her brief appearance, this memory boosts the Nomometer closer to its peak. With the meter near full capacity, Doofenshmirtz is on the verge of reaching his goal to become the ultimate evil being in the tri-state area. Just as the Nomometer is about to hit its limit, Perry escapes, but in an attempt to stop Doofenshmirtz, he unknowingly triggers another painful memory, sending the meter over the top. Doofenshmirtz activates the Backstory Inator and transforms into a giant evil-powered monster, ready to end his rivalry with Perry for good. Perry, realizing his mistake, attempts to appeal to Doofenshmirtz's softer side by showing him pictures from their countless past battles. Flooded with good memories, Doofenshmirtz gradually returns to normal, inadvertently destroying the Backstory Inator in the process. Exhausted but relieved, Perry leaves, while Doofenshmirtz, defeated, cleans up the remains of his scattered backstory with Norm's help. For Your Ice Only, Season 4, Episode 1. Phineas and Ferb transform their backyard into an ice rink, and Candace tries to bust them, only to find that her dad, Lawrence, loves the idea. He even arranges for them to play an exhibition game during a local hockey event. Phineas and Ferb decide to play an intense version of the sport called Hockey Z9. As they prepare, Jeremy arrives, and Candace, hoping to impress him with hockey knowledge, calls Stacy for help. Meanwhile, Perry is summoned to his lair. Major Monogram informs him they've lost track of Doofenshmirtz, whose recent activities have frozen their surveillance systems. Perry heads off to investigate. At the Danville Hockey Arena, local announcer Dink Winkerson enthusiastically introduces NHL star Luc Robitaille, while the Flynn Fletcher family takes their seats. Candace begins using hockey trivia from Stacy to impress Jeremy, although her limited knowledge soon becomes evident. Linda, eager to capture the kids' game on film, heads to the gift shop to buy a camera, and Candace waits for her moment to bust her brothers. Perry arrives at Doofenshmirtz's Mountain Igloo hideout, where Doof reveals his new plan, the Abominable Inator, a device designed to make anyone it hits bigger, hairier, and scarier, just like the legendary Abominable Snowman. In a twist, the device accidentally hits a giant marshmallow, freeing Perry. Their struggle causes the Inator and the Igloo to slide down the mountain. Back at the arena, Phineas and Ferb's Hockey Z9 game begins, with Isabella joining the game in a dramatic announcement. Meanwhile, Candace realizes that her quickest route to her mom in the gift shop is across the rink, but Luc Robitaille stops her, explaining that only players are allowed. Not discouraged, Candace dons a hockey uniform to sneak in, which Luc notices but tolerates. Linda finally finds a disposable camera, only to return just in time to miss the action as an enormous Zamboni, accidentally enlarged by the Abominable Inator, enters the arena and starts cleaning up the rink. Seeing this, Phineas and the others wrap up the game. Linda snaps a picture of the strange sight, and Luc thanks the kids for the weirdest game he's ever seen. As the kids head off, Candace, now in full hockey gear, arrives only to learn the game is over. Frustrated, she breaks a hockey stick, earning her a trip to the penalty box from Luc. Jeremy, unfazed, invites her for food. And as she sits in the box, Perry appears beside her, bringing a fittingly humorous end to Candace's thwarted plans. Phineas and Ferb Mission Marvel, Season 4, Episode 22. Phineas, Ferb, and friends are enjoying a cosmic surf in the asteroid belt, powered by cosmic rays. Meanwhile, Perry faces off against Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who has built a power drain Inator to steal his brother Roger's political powers. Perry foils the plan, but the Inator accidentally fires towards New York, hitting Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk, and Thor, causing them to lose their powers. When the heroes learn the source of the ray is from Danville, they travel there and meet Phineas and Ferb. Meanwhile, Doofenshmirtz is shocked to learn that his invention worked on superheroes, and he gets a surprise visit from Marvel villains Red Skull, Whiplash, MODOK, and Venom, who convince him to rebuild the power drain Inator. Phineas, Ferb, and the Marvel heroes begin working on a solution in SHE. Secret hideout for emergency defense. Candace tries to help, but inadvertently mixes up the heroes' powers, causing chaos. The heroes end up battling the villains at the mall, but are quickly subdued. Agent P, dressed as a superhero, rescues the team and brings them back to regroup. Candace, feeling guilty for messing things up, reluctantly leaves after Phineas expresses frustration with her. Buford and Baljeet then get involved, with Baljeet transforming into Hulkjeet after another mishap. Meanwhile, the villains are advancing their plot with Doofenshmirtz rebuilding the power drain Inator. A new plan emerges after Candace realizes the hero's powers must still be stored in space. Candace and Isabella rush to the space station, recovering the powers just as it crashes onto the power drain Inator, destroying it. Phineas restores the hero's powers, who quickly defeat the villains in a final showdown. In the aftermath, the heroes thank the kids, Candace and Phineas reconcile, and Perry gets autographed mementos for Major Monogram and Carl. Candace tries to show Linda the battle's remains, but Doofenshmirtz accidentally vaporizes the evidence with his disintegrator Inator, leaving only comic book kiosks behind. Satisfied with her explanations, Linda moves on, and Doofenshmirtz revels in his minor victory, though no one notices. Act Your Age, Season 4, Episode 47. In this episode set 10 years in the future, a teenage Phineas is struggling to decide which college to attend, as he's the last of his friend group without a plan. While considering his options, Baljeet and Buford casually reveal that Isabella has always had a crush on him, leaving Phineas shocked. Wanting to clear his head, he goes for a walk to process this new information. Meanwhile, at Doofenshmirtz's former lair, Perry arrives to investigate an Inator alert. It turns out Doof is having a midlife crisis, trying to feel younger with Perry by his side. They go on a series of wild adventures from jet skiing to skydiving, before Doof finally decides he's had enough of his youthful antics. Back in Danville, the Fireside Girls, along with Buford and Baljeet, set up a romantic dinner for Phineas and Isabella, but their plans are derailed by a runaway dumpster. Phineas learns from Nana Shapiro that Isabella is leaving for college that day, and he rushes to find her, realizing he has feelings for her too. When they meet, Phineas and Isabella admit they had crushes on each other at different times, but the timing was always off. Phineas then decides to attend Tri-State State with Isabella so they can be together. As she drives off, Phineas catches up and kisses her, marking the start of their relationship. The episode ends with Dan and Swampy watching the characters head off to college, with Swampy getting emotional about seeing them all grown up. Last Day of Summer, Season 4, Episode 48. On the last day of summer, Phineas and Ferb decide to make the most of it by organizing a thrilling hoverboard ride across Danville. Candace, determined to bust her brothers once and for all, vows to catch them in the act, especially since it's her final chance before school resumes. Meanwhile, Doofenshmirtz decides to enact one last evil scheme, creating a Tri-Governor Inator to make himself ruler of the tri-state area. During a visit to Doof's lair, Candace discovers the Do-Over Inator, a device that can reset the day in a time loop. Hoping to increase her chances of finally busting her brothers, she activates it, but unknowingly traps herself and Doof in a repeating day. As each loop repeats, Candace and Doof try new methods to achieve their goals. Phineas and Ferb's activities inspire Candace to think even bigger each time, but she still fails to bust them. Meanwhile, Doof refines his traps for Perry, who manages to escape each time. With each loop, strange occurrences start happening. Objects disappear, memories fade, and even familiar relationships are altered. Candace soon realizes that the time loops are destabilizing reality, putting Danville itself at risk of erasure. Eventually, Candace and the gang end up in a strange void where they encounter Phineas and Ferb, who were also caught in the time rifts. Candace, remorseful for her actions, admits she caused the loop to try to bust them. Realizing they need to end the loop, Doof, Vanessa, Perry, and the rest of the gang build a time-straighten-out Inator to stabilize reality. In a final effort, Candace and Doof activate the device, successfully breaking the loop and restoring normalcy to Danville. As summer officially ends, Phineas, Ferb, Candace, and their friends gather to reminisce about their incredible adventures. The episode closes with a big musical celebration where all the characters sing and thank the audience for joining them on their journey, bringing Phineas and Ferb's unforgettable summer to a heartfelt and joyful close. And so, we've revisited Phineas and Ferb's 4-season adventure from start to finish. Together, we relived the wild, hilarious, and thrilling moments of this legendary duo's invention-packed summer vacation. Each season brought new characters, bigger projects, and unforgettable adventures. For those who watched it as kids, it's been a nostalgic journey, and for newcomers, a fantastic discovery. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Which episode or season did you enjoy the most? Let us know in the comments, and let's chat about it. See you in the next adventure.